So I actually wanted to talk about predicting future technology, and I think it's a super important aspect of business where you're predicting what is going to be the next big thing. The problem is that predicting the next big thing is very difficult. We, as human beings, cannot imagine where the world is actually going to go, and if you're to actually take an extrapolation and tell people what the world is going to look like, people will rail on it and they'll be uncomfortable with the way that the world is going to be. And I kind of wanted to talk about like things like the platform economy, social media, and things along those lines. I think it's a very important aspect of our society that people feel uncomfortable about, and we're moving towards something that is going to be very interesting, I think. So, if you don't know me, I'm Professor Dave Massack. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I wanted to pay the favor forward to help you out as much as I possibly can. It's always interesting when I tell students where the world is going to go, when you extrapolate. First of all, I cannot forecast the future in any sort of way, but you can forecast general things in terms of what the world might actually look like in sort of general trends. There's going to be a heck of a lot more AI, and AI is not a scary thing. It is the way that I envision AI is just basically the next level of computer programming where things are routine tasks are going to be programmed even more. Um, and I know, that's totally simplifying it, but that is a sort of that's a generalization. And then another thing is that governance. So things like how we're going to interact in society are going to be quite a bit different in the way that we think about them. So, for example, um, the role of government, for example, or the way that we currently govern things is going to be a heck of a lot different in 20 years than it is right now. Or how we manage companies is going to be a lot different, where it's going to be a lot more algorithmic, where there's going to be algorithms and information technology that is going to be programming a lot of our lives. And we feel squeamish talking about that because we sort of project in the future and we have this sort of um, we sort of naturally gravitate towards like 1984 Orwellian sort of views of the world where we're controlled completely. Um, and in reality, I think we are moving in that direction where we have, competing forces where we're definitely moving towards stronger algorithms that are predicting our every single move, and being able to help us in our every single move, but at the same time, it puts constraints on us. And we are going to go through some difficult, uncomfortable conversations over the next 20 years or 30 years, where we really have to think about what is the role of how all of this interacts with society and how we sort of imagine our world. And now, if I tell you this, a lot of you are thinking like, nah, that's not going to happen. You either have that response, nah, that's never going to happen. But you have to stop and think about what the world looked like. If I would have said 20 years ago that the internet and the structure of the internet is going to profoundly change how we interact in society, and it's going to profoundly change who we trust in society, all of you would have said that is nuts, including myself. I would have said that that was really nuts. Um, would I would have thought that I would have moved and lived into strangers' homes? Would have thought that strangers would have picked me up? Would have thought that a non-centralized government, centralized bank would be controlling not a lot of currency, but a significant portion of currency around the world? I would have thought that We would have had political and civil unrest because of unusual algorithmic discussions that were sort of dictating how people had discussions based on the algorithms. Um, no, I would not have thought that. However, if you would look at general trends in what is happening, it's pretty predictable that this is going to go on. And we're probably going to go through even more rougher experiences and challenging experiences as we interact. And as these algorithms, um, broadly speaking, or as platforms, or, the way that the internet interacts, as that sort of grows and then matures, we're going to go through a lot more to talk about. And you might be thinking, oh, this is the end of it. We're this is all we can do. We're sort of optimized so we can. In reality, we're just starting. There is so much more that we can do. If there is an unhappy person in this world that is unfulfilled and doesn't feel great, it means we have more stuff that we can do. And there's going to be more room for technology. There's going to be somebody that's out there, um, that is an entrepreneur or innovator or whatever you want to call them. Somebody is going to come up with some sort of solution. It's going to be implemented in the marketplace, and some of those things are going to take off. And most of them will die, but something is going to take off, and then we will be like, oh my God, how would I ever have predicted that? Well, it's pretty predictable in the sense that we're constantly solving these problems, and we have to be well aware that it's going to occur. And you know what you can predict now. Can we predict where the world is going? No, I didn't. Anybody that tells you to buy this thing, or to look at this one particular thing, this is what you should do. I they're full of crap. Nobody can do that. But what we can be aware of is that there's general trends towards some of these things, and we might have increasing discussions. Discussions is being put in quotes, where it could be extremely violent, to something that is very, as I used to say back in the olden days, gentlemanly like. And you got to be ready for both of those, and we have to start thinking about them as as these technologies are rolled out. We are going to have more and more discussions, and there's going to be a lot of debate in terms of what our world looks like. And some of this stuff, here's the thing that's a little unnerving, is it will make our life so better in some areas that we will be willing to give up in other areas, and will be put into uncomfortable positions, just like we are right now, or we're often put in uncomfortable positions where something is really good in some respects, but in other respects it causes great tensions, or great upheavals in other areas. And we will have to be aware that this is going to occur. And we're going to have to be aware that machines, whatever you want to call it, artificial intelligence, machine learning, algorithms, computer programs, whatever, going back to mathematics, back to quantifying things, that is going to become increasingly more relevant, and increasingly more important in our society, and we're going to have to start thinking about how to deal with it. What does it actually mean? This has been an ongoing theme for 20, 25, 30, 40, 100 years, where we have to struggle with what we want and what we want to tolerate at certain moments. Um, and it's becoming very real in terms of public discussion at this moment, in terms of what does trust look like? Who is forming trust? What are those institutions about? there's a lot that we need to have discussions about, and we need to be well aware of where it's going. And, the only thing that I can tell is there's going to be a lot more change. And that change is going to be unpredictable, but we have to be ready for the fact that it's going to be unpredictable. And we have to be okay with this change that happens. For the world in 10 years from now is going to be a heck of a lot different than the way it looks right now. I hope it's going to be for the better. If you look at long run trends, it is for the better. In the short run, things are a little bit more iffy in terms of what's going on in the very short term. But in the long run, generally, these long run effects of technology, of innovation, really do have profound positive effects on society. And we have to acknowledge that's going to occur, but acknowledge that there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way. And we have to be okay when they occur and correct when they occur. Make tough decisions that we've never had to make before. That's a really tough decision what happened this year in terms of what happened in votes, for example, in America, what happened on different software platforms is a really tough decision that is going to become increasingly more important as these tools become more central to what we're doing. You can either run away from it, or you can acknowledge that it's part of our life and figure out ways to deal with it so it's more equitable and it's more fair across the board. And think about how we can make things more transparent. Whatever the decision is and whatever things look like, I think that those are important things of things to come in the future. So with that, so I want to talk about. Good luck. We'll see you on the next one.